Have you ever been interested in learning how to make rhinestone wristlets? If so, you're in the right place. Hi guys, thanks for joining me today. I'm Marilyn and my channel is Making with Marilyn. Now I've been on a kick of making rhinestone wristlets lately. Patrice of Craftable Things and I have made them on a couple of lives, but my lives really aren't tutorials, and so I wanted to do a quick video today to show you how you could do this project as well. I'm going to use what's called hot fix rhinestones, and these are size SS10. That's important because when you buy a template or make a template, you have to know what size your rhinestones are going to be. So I'm going to use these rhinestones today. Again, they're SS10 size, and these are hot fix. What that means is there's adhesive on the back. The adhesive is dry, and you put that under a heat source and it sticks it to your shirt, your wristlets, whatever you're putting it on. So we've covered the rhinestones. This is the template, or I'm going to use two of the templates out of this today. I have these in my Etsy shop. What you do is you put some rhinestones on the template, you brush them in. If you need to move them around, I have a wax pen, and then you pick them up with hot fix transfer tape to transfer them to your wristlet or to your shirt or whatever you're putting them on. Once you've done that, you use a heat source to adhere those stones to your webbing or your shirt. In my case today, I'm going to use a small tabletop craft press. Now for the base material, I have nylon 1-inch webbing and I have cotton 1-inch webbing. We're going to do one of each today. Once you have your rhinestones pressed on, then you're going to add some key fob hardware. This pack has a lot of different colors in it. I love this pack, but I also have a pack of just straight silver. To put these key fobs onto your wristlet, you're going to use this type of plier. Now I think I've covered all the basic materials. If I forgot anything, we'll talk about it as we go through the video. Now if this is something that you'd like to learn to do, or you'd just like to watch to see how it's done, sit back, relax, and let's get started. Now if you haven't subscribed yet, please consider doing that. If you subscribe, make sure you tap that bell, select the all notification. That way YouTube lets you know anytime I upload new content. Here's the colors that we're going to start with. This is a little bit easier of a template. None of these are really difficult. The one with the diagonals is probably the most difficult. Again, it's not difficult. That's the one we're going to do second. But we're going to start off by using this template right here. What that does is it gives you one color stones on the outside and then a solid strip on the inside. That's the template that I used to make this wristlet. And the colors that we're going to use are blue zircon. I'm going to use those on the middle, and then I'm going to outline them with peridot AB. AB stands for Aurora Borealis, and it gives you kind of a nice sheen over the color of the rhinestone. That way it reflects a lot of different colors. For that one, we're going to use this color of webbing. For the second one that we make, we're going to use this cotton webbing. This color is called Rose Red. I love that, but I'm a pink girl. On that one, we're going to use magenta and crystal stones. Now, before I get my heat source over here, I'm going to go ahead and brush these in. Again, the first one we're doing is right here. When I have multiple templates together or multiple layers of a template together, I like to tape them off using painter's tape. The first layer I'm going to put down is this outside layer. That way you know exactly where it goes on your webbing. If you started with the inside layer, you'd be a little bit guessing. This one, it goes all the way to the edges, so you know exactly where to put it. So I'm just going to go ahead and block off that template so I don't have any loose stones get over there. And then I'm going to block off the bottom half of this template, or the inside half of this template. And I can just reuse this tape when I need to move it around. Now my templates are 9.15 inches wide or long and 0.926 inches high, or you might call that wide. But the part of the template that goes from this side to this side is 0.926. You'll only need to know that when you take it into your software. And then the length is 9.150. I'm going to cut my webbing at 10.5 inches. Let's start by brushing in the stones. So this is the Peridot AB. You're just going to put quite a few on there. You don't need to worry about how many you get on there because you're going to scoop those up later and put them back in your container. And these brush in pretty quickly. You want to try to get all your holes of the template filled, but if you don't, it's not a big deal because you're going to use either some tweezers or like I use a wax pen. Now, sometimes I accidentally get stones in my containers that don't belong there. And that's what happened here. So we'll take that little guy out and then we'll just keep brushing. Now I'm not pushing down hard, I'm barely putting any pressure on it. Now the backs of these stones are flat, but these are not what's called flat back stones. Flat back stones do not have adhesive on the back side. These are hot fix stones. And as I said in the video intro, these are size SS10s. I would say that for clothing, things that you're going to wear, SS10s and SS6s, which are smaller, are probably the most popular sizes. Those are all brushed in. It looks like I don't have any extras. I don't have any upside down. So I'm ready to go ahead and pick these up with my transfer tape. And it is Hot Fix transfer tape. And the brand I use is actually called KTM Mask. And I get it from the Heat Transfer Warehouse. So I'm going to take it off its backing. And you might wonder, can you use just regular transfer tape? You have to use a transfer tape that can take the heat, otherwise it's going to melt. I love this. I tried some that I got off of Amazon, and I really love the KTM Mask the most. So I removed the back of it. This is a little bit nerve-wracking when you're starting out with bling, and that's setting this tape down. So you just kind of go down in one very smooth motion, and then you're going to press on your stones or the top of your tape, I guess that'd be the back of your tape, so that you make sure your stones are going to stay attached to it. As I lift them up, if there's any stones that aren't attached, I would lay it back down before I pick it all the way up, push on the top of the stones, and then try it again. In this case, they all came up. Some of them are rocked up a little bit, so I'm just going to press down on them. And that looks good. Now typically I just go ahead and press my stones onto what I'm using, but since I'm going to brush in all my layers first, I'm going to lay that backing back down and set this to the side. Now we're going to do the inside layer. So like I said, I'm going to reuse my tape. I'll move it down, and then I'll move this one down. And now we're going to fill in this solid piece. For that one, I am using blue zircon. I like to match one of the colors of my stones to the color of the webbing. So we're going to repeat that same step, and then I'm going to go ahead and get my heat press out and do this first one, and then I'll show some of the second one. I'll probably fast forward through a lot of it, but I want you to see the second one. It is such a cute pattern. I really love it, and I want you to see it. And I want you to see more colors. Now, even though these are all 2-layer templates, like I said, I do have the 1-layer template, it's just not on here. If you wanted to, you could lay down different colors of stones where they are separated by a great deal of space. So you could put different colors in here, you could put different colors in here. This template, let me show you what it looks like. I call it color blocking. This was made from this template, but what I'm saying is you could use different colors all over the place so you're not just stuck with 2 colors. I like the 2 colors, but if you want to have a lot of colors, you can do that as well. Okay, so I'm just wiping off the extra ones, not pressing down very hard at all. You have to be very light-handed when you do this. And I see a couple of the holes aren't filled, so I can either take some stones back over, try to rub them in, or I'm going to leave this one blank, show you the other way you can do it. The other thing you can do is you can take your wax pen, you just barely have to touch your stone, it's going to pick it up and set it down into place. Be sure that you also check for stones that are flipped upside down so that you can fix those, as well as extra stones that might be sitting on top. Here's the transfer tape again, KTM mask, and you're going to separate the bottom layer from the top layer. If you're new to rhinestones, I would recommend start out with some really small projects. This type of project, maybe a ball cap type project, because larger projects can be very intimidating at first. And if you start on some small things, a couple things happen. Number one, if you mess them up, you haven't ruined that many stones. And a little piece of webbing doesn't cost much, so you don't have to worry about that. But second of all, as you're learning how to brush them in, and especially how to put your hot fix transfer tape down, you're going to gain confidence. And you're going to know that you can do those larger projects. But I would definitely start small. Okay, I have my 2 layers. I'm going to clean these stones up, and I'm going to go ahead and bring my heat press over. Now, while that's preheating, I'm going to go ahead and cut down my webbing. I like to use 10.5 inches for my wristlets, but that is all just personal preference. If you would like to make a little bit larger wristlet, you can. You'll just have a little more of the webbing showing once you put your rhinestones on. When I did my first wristlets, I believe I cut this down to about 10.25, and look how close those stones are to the hardware. And in fact, it's a little bit under the hardware. So I don't try to get it that close anymore. This one is a little bit further away. And then this one I cut just a little bit larger. It's even further yet. So cutting your wristlet larger is just going to cause a little bit more of the bare nylon or cotton to show, but it's not a big deal. Okay, so this is 10.5. Now this is the nylon ribbon. This will warp. And first of all, at the end, they use some type of glue or something to keep it from fraying. I want to take that off. With this nylon webbing, as I was saying, it can warp. I do want to kind of press this to get the creases out and preheat it a little bit, but I don't want to press this for 20 seconds. My heat press is only up to 230, but for a pre-press, I think that's fine. I can also kind of check my pressure this way. Again, I'm just trying to knock the crease out and give it a tiny little pre-press. Okay, that's good pressure. When I add those stones, because they're tall, it's going to be even more pressure. You do want to have pretty good pressure when you're doing rhinestones. You want those rhinestones to stay put. So here's my nylon now. It has hardened up a little bit. It's a little bit stiffer now. As it cools, it'll get a little less stiff, or you can actually start bending it, and that took that stiffness out of it. We're going to start with this outside layer because it's going to define where the stones go. Now, earlier I said warped. I did preheat these too much when I first started, and they literally would start bending. And once they start bending, your template's not going to fit correctly. So don't make the mistake I made. So I'm going to try to center this pretty much from left to right as well as top and bottom. That doesn't look bad, but it looks like it needs to go up on this side just a little bit. I don't want my stones hanging off the side of my wristlet. So I thought it looked good from here on. I'm going to hold it down. And you don't want to try to just drag these stones because you can pull them off that backing. All right, I'm going to stand up, see if I can see a little bit better. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. So now I'm going to lift the entire thing up. And next time I'll probably put the pad of the heat press under while I do this, because when you peel this up, you can move those stones a little bit, and I don't want that to happen. So I'm going to look at them real close here. And I feel like I need to adjust them just a little bit. So I made my adjustments, and then I was ready to go ahead and press this first layer down. With this first layer, I pressed it at 350 degrees, and I only did it for 12 seconds. This layer is going to get another press later, and so I thought 12 seconds was enough for now. That looks great. Okay, so you can go ahead and you can take the transfer tape off the top while the stones are still hot. And in fact, that's how Eve, the lady that I buy the rhinestones from, suggested you do it. And I'll have a link to her website in my video description as well. So I'm going to go ahead and place the second stones in between. Now let's go ahead and press this, and we'll go ahead and do 20 seconds this time. That looks pretty. Now I'm going to try to reuse this, and I'll show you how you do that. But for now, I'm just going to stick it back down on the backing. Now I want to go ahead and let these stones cool down before I bend this as much as you need to bend it, because I want those stones, or I want the glue on those stones to really set before I do that. But I really like how this presses those into the nylon a little bit more than my HTV Ront does. So since I have to wait, let me fast forward through brushing these in. Now with the fraying, it's going to be under the hardware, so you don't necessarily have to do anything with it. With the nylon, I burn it. This is my first time to use the cotton, and I'm not sure that would be a great idea on the cotton, but I do have some fray check. I could also put a little bit of glue under there, but here's fray check I have. For purposes of this video, I'm going to try to burn it. I'm going to see if the cotton burns like the nylon does. So I'm just barely going to touch it or get close to it. The burning of this nylon works very easily. Let's see what happens here. All right, that worked okay. It kind of shrivels up, but that will be under the end, so it doesn't matter. I think I'm good with that. It gets a little bit darker, but it's hidden by the hardware. Let's go ahead and put the hardware on these. I have two sets. I have all silver, which I'm going to use silver for this one because it'll mix in with the crystal stones really nicely. And then I may use silver with this one too, but I want to show you some of these. This is a multicolored pack, and some of them in here are individually wrapped and some are not. It looks like the silver ones are not individually wrapped, but some of the painted and coated ones are. Look at this. Isn't that gorgeous? And then there's brass. I used one of these. There's an aged brass or aged, I'm not sure what that is. I think it's aged brass. I called it dirty brass on a live. Somebody laughed at that. Let's see. Then we have silver. And then lastly, we have black. Very, very pretty. That looks pretty good. I think I'll use it. So I'm going to use silver and rainbow. So here's the pliers. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold these together, and I'm going to make sure they're together at the end. Now, when I was on a live, I used double-sided tape from the Dollar Tree store to hold those together. That's an option. You could also use clips. Today, I'm going to try to get by with doing it like this, at least on the first one. The second one, I'll show you what I usually do. I just forgot to bring the tape over here. So you are going to put the hardware in the jaws of the plier, and then I'm going to get these together. And it's definitely easier to have them clipped or taped. And then I'm going to start pushing down, and I want to look at it from the sides just to make sure I don't have any of the webbing exposed. Once I like it, I'm just going to squeeze and close that up. Now notice my stones aren't real close to it, so I don't have to worry about those stones getting underneath of it. I think my stone right here shifted a little bit because that's a little crooked. That one's fine. Very pretty. Here's the Dollar Tree double-sided tape. I'm just going to take a really small piece. I don't want it to go edge to edge. I just want a small piece to hold it together. And then I found that if you start to pull the backing off on a surface that isn't your webbing, it's easier to do. Okay, so I have the back partway off. Let's go ahead and lift it back up. I'm going to set it on the back side because those are the sides that go together. And then just take that backing off. Now once again, I'm going to fold my ends together, and I'm not going to push down until I like how they look. And that looks good. I'm going to burn this off a little bit more. So now we're going to put this hardware on the same way we did the last time, except it is going to be a little bit easier because I don't have to worry about the two sides getting shifted. So you're going to rest it down inside of the jaws of the plier. I'm going to go ahead and close it just a little bit. I'm going to set my webbing all the way down in there, and this webbing looks a little bit wider than my nylon webbing, so it looks like it's going to show just a little bit. Maybe not. Maybe it's just where I burned it and it kind of expanded. Well, let's see. All right, so I'm putting it down there. I put it all the way to the base. And okay, I think it's going to be fine. I think it is going to be fine. I didn't push it closed yet because I feel like it's getting kind of off. Now I like it, so I'll go ahead and press that closed. And it's not showing from the side, so I'm happy about that. All right, here's what we made today. Do you think this is a project that you'd like to do? They turn out just beautiful. Let me add the rest to it. So here they all are. So beautiful, so blingy. Do you have a favorite? I really love this one we did today. I like them all, but I love it. Thanks so much for joining me, and until my next video, bye-bye.